So this is a step-by-step video for beginners, DaVinci Resolve Color Page. Let's go. You got your clip in the timeline. First thing you have to do is you have to go to Settings and change your color management. You go to Color Science and change this to YRGB. Uncheck Automatic Color Management, and here select HDR DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. Press Save, and now if you're like me and shot this clip in Sony S-Log, then what you have to do is right click, then you go down to Input Colored Space, and you change this color space to Sony S-Gamut 3 S-Log 3. And look, your footage suddenly becomes correct in the way it was shot. Now let's create the timeline. Master. Create. Here is our two clips, the close-up and the wide shot. And with these two clips, let's go into Color Page and walk through that. Shift 6 to enter Color Page, and here you are. Up here you got your clips. Here you have tabs. First one is Gallery. Here you got your stills folder, and you also can create a power grade album. Power grade album basically lives across all your projects. So if you create a LUT, or when you create a grade, you can store it in this power grade album. This is where your LUTs are. All your color LUTs live here. This is the media pool. This is where your footage lives. And this is the clips. Basically this bar, if you click on this thumbnail bar will appear or disappear. Here's your viewer. This is where you can play the clip and you can loop it. And here's your qualifier, power grade, different tools that you can use to inspect your footage. Up here you can change different different guides. Here you can change different timelines. Let's grab a still. Here if you right click, you can grab a still of this image. And then if you go to the previous image, you can match, you can wipe frame up here. So if you click on image wipe, and if you pull across like this, you can compare two images. This here will bypass the color grade when you have it. This is your full screen. Here you have your nodes. This is where you create your grade, balance your footage, things like that. So if you right click, you can add a node, add a serial node. You can also label, color. Here's your clip node, and this is your timeline node. See, there's nothing here. You have to create a new node in here, add a node, corrector, and then you have to join up these two green dots, the start and the end. And this, if it's set to timeline, this will affect all the clips at once. So if you will change color in this node, all the clips in your timeline will be affected. If you go back to this dot and it says clip here, only this selected clip will be affected. So up here you got quick export settings for quick exports. You got your timeline, so you can disable this timeline here. I usually disable it so I have more room. See, the screen becomes bigger. Your effects are here. So all the effects that you would use for your clip's color, like grain and halation, vignette, it will all appear in this effects bar. Now let's put it in the trash. Okay, Lightbox. Here you can oversee all your project clips and see if maybe some of them have a different color. It's very good to overview the clips as they are. Press on Lightbox to go back. Here is your thumbnail strip, and down here is your camera raw settings. You will be able to change your white balance and your ISO if you got red footage or things like that. Here you got your color passport settings where you can auto color correct. Then you got primary color wheels. This is your auto balance setting. As you can see, not always it is a good decision to use it. Let's reset node grade up here so it goes back to normal. This is your white balance picker. Let's try. Reset node grade. This is your temperature slider. You can make it warmer, colder. You double click on the word and it goes back to 0. This is your tint. Go to more teal, more magenta. Double click here to go back. Your contrast. Pivot. Basically, if you increase your contrast, pivot will change the point where contrast works. So let's undo that. Mid-tone detail creates image more detailed. If you increase it, if you decrease it, it makes it more kind of glowy and less detailed. This is good for skin, especially for women. They like to look nicer than men. Men can go rougher. So roughly you would go around 18, -18 for women's skin, if that's what you want. Now down here is your wheels. This here will decrease your shadows, which says lift. You undo it with this. Gamma is your midtone. And gain is your highlights. So increase, decrease highlights here. And you can also use this slider to decrease tint for the highlights, tint for midtones, and tint for shadows. Offset will affect global changes for all the channels at once. And this is my favorite way to bring image brighter or darker. Now let's undo that. Down here you got color boost. Color boost basically works different from saturation, which is here. Saturation increases all the colors at once, but color boost, so it will bring up the dull colors, but not the saturated colors. But be careful with this. I would not overuse this. Okay, shadows will increase and decrease your shadows. Highlights the same. And hue will just shift the hue of the image. And Luma Mix, we'll just leave that as it is. Then here you got your color bars. It's basically the same thing, except it has bars. Down here you got log wheels, and log wheels work in very small increments. So if you decrease shadows, only the very lower part of the graph will decrease in shadows. So this is great for correcting just shadows. For instance, the tint of your shadows. If it's too warm, you can fine-tune it here. Same with highlights and midtones. So basically log wheels are for fine-tuning your shadows, midtones, and highlights. This is your curves, and here again you will lift your shadows and make your shadows darker. And here your highlights, lift your highlights and tame your highlights. This will kind of squeeze both ends together. Here you have edit, and if you uncheck this, you can leave everything as is, but just move, like for instance, just red channel for highlights, or just green channel, or just blue channel. I would leave this linked for now. And here you just have sliders for that. You got soft clip. You can just kind of make your protect your highlights more with this. Okay, let's undo. Here you got another hue versus hue. If you click on your, if you go to your image, you got this color picker. You can choose the color, and you will see a point appear here, and you can just adjust that specific color, its hue. Let's undo this. Down here you got hue versus saturation. So again, you choose the color, have a point, and you can just take out saturation for that specific spot. You can also add these points, so click on these dots and you'll have points here, and you can just take out red color, for instance, or increase the red color. Let's undo all of that. Then we go into hue versus lume. And here, again, let's click on the red dot. You can see just the red color will become darker or brighter. And you can do that with each individual colors. Now, lume versus sat, basically, this will decrease saturation in your shadows or increase, and this will decrease and increase saturation in your highlights. Let's undo that. Saturation versus saturation. This basically would be great for protecting your skin. So increasing saturation for specific areas of the image. And saturation versus lume is what it is. Now, let's go to color slice. This will, again, this is great for skin. It says skin here, so you can just target that skin tone, that skin color. Color warper, you can select a point and just pull, and you can change that color. Let's undo. Color warper, if you're looking at the warper, if I click a point here, you can see, for instance, if I click the red point, you can see it added a point here, and then I can just boost the red or make it more desaturated. Let's undo that. Qualifier, if you draw on this, nothing happens, so you have to enable up here the highlights, and then you will see what you are doing with that qualifier. So let's draw. Now you see qualifier only qualifies the sunset color. And then what you can do is you can go in, let's undo the highlight, and you can, for instance, see just change in this offset slider, just change what you qualified. So you can qualify separate parts of the image and just change that part of the image. Let's undo this, let's undo this. Now these are your windows. So here you can create different windows, and this is the softness. So again, if I go in my offset, you will see just the inside of this window changed. If you want outside, you press invert here, and now we see there is kind of this nice vignette. Let's see, and you can drag it around if you want to change it. Same, let's undo this, and let's bring this back to normal. You got your square, you got a line here. You can manually draw with this curve tool. Let's undo, and then you got your gradient. You can, for instance, this is good for taming sky. So if you bring it down like this and bring down the gain, so you can make the sky a bit darker. Okay, undo. Now we go to the tracker. This will basically track whatever is selected. So for instance, let's go back to our vignette. So let's pretend you want to track this vignette. You have it there, you go to the tracker and you would press this, track forward and reverse. And it will just track this. If it was walking, if the man was walking, if it would follow with this vignette, and then you can color that and you can track your color. Let's undo this and undo this. Here you also have stabilization. You can stabilize the footage by clicking here. This is your tracker effects. Let's undo everything. And here is a keyframe tab. Basically, you can add keyframes to your tracker. You can manually keyframe tracker by that. Let's undo. Here you got AI Magic Mask. This is a great tool, but it's only in studio version. So you click on your subject and it will mask that subject. You have to enable mask overlay to see what it selects. And here are your clicks, so you can delete them here. And it does a really good job. And I would suggest you to click better if you want a better result. Okay, let's undo this. Next is your blur sharpen tab. And here I would only use this first radius, and I would bring it down to sharpen my image. Usually I would bring it down to around 46 to make it sharper. If you go up, it will blur the image. Let's undo this. Down here you got a key. So let me demonstrate this. For instance, let's say you got very orange footage. You would go to your key tab and key output, and you would bring down your gain. And what it would do is it would affect this node by the amount you would bring it up or down. So you can basically balance the strength of the node. Let's undo this. This would be your sizing. You can do some zooming in here if you wish. Again, let's undo. And then this 3D is just locked for me. Okay, so now we got this parade. Let's see, there's a keyframe tab here as well. And see this split primary secondary views? If you click on this, this will become bigger. You can make a change in the keyframe. So for instance, let's add a keyframe to this first node. Added a keyframe here. Let's move this a little so you see now the keyframe added. And let's say you want this color to change from warm to blue. So you would go to the end of the clip. I would slide it more blue, and then let's watch. So there, your clip went from orangey to blue. So now let's click on this. This is your scopes. Your first one is parade scope, your waveform, vector scope. This is good for skin tones. In here, you would have settings for those specific scopes. I would always have 2x zoom on, and always have this skin tone indicator on, so I know where the skin tones sit. And you would press on this qualifier and go up let's go to the second clip. You press on the hover over the skin, and you would see a round circle on your vector scope where your skin sits. Okay, and this is how you make the scopes bigger. If you have a second screen, you can put it up there. Right, this is the information of the selected clip. And that's the overview of the color tab. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.